Welcome back, and in this segment we will be talking about the annual cultural festival held by the Indian Embassy in Cairo, the popular festival India by the Nile. And this year, the year 2017, they have more events and more cultural activities in store for us, and we're joined in the studio by Ms. Anne Haukeb, and she is the second secretary at the embassy, as well as the director of the Maulana Azad Cultural Center in Cairo. Welcome with us. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me here.
Well, first of all, let me ask you about the India by the Nile 2017 festival. Tell us more about it.
Well, India by the Nile is a mega cultural festival organized by the Indian Embassy and its partners every year since 2013. And this year, the fifth year, is special for us because we are celebrating the 70th year of Indian independence and also 70 years of diplomatic relations with Egypt. So this year, we're going to have a bigger lineup of activities, including 15 different events across 5 different cities and for over 8 weeks. So this year, we have 4 major acts from India that are in the performing arts category. And apart from this, we have a handicrafts exhibition, and then a photography exhibition, some art collaboration between Indian and Egyptian artists, and of course we have a fine dining experience by a top celebrity chef. And apart from this, we also have a football team coming from India to play with their counterparts here.
Now, is that festivity similar to the one that takes place in India as well?
Well, the one in India is going to be conducted this year by the Egyptian Embassy in New Delhi, taking off from what we're doing here. So this will be the first year that they'll be doing.
But this is an important festival, and actually it is the focus of many of the Egyptians who would like to attend and know more about it. So tell us more about the history of this festival.
Well, it's true. The Indian culture is one of the few well-known cultures among the Egyptian people, and that's one of the first things one recognizes once you arrive here in Egypt, that people are very familiar with different Indian culture, including dance, film, and the different activities that we have. So people are very familiar with that. So that's why we took off this initiative to start a mega festival, along with Teamwork Arts production from India. And of course, we have a lot of local partners here in the Egyptian government and other bodies. And because of this, we've been doing it since 2013, and this is the 5th year that we've been holding this event.
What about the timing of the festival?
Well, actually, we launched this festival this year on the 8th of March at the scenic pyramids in Giza with the handicrafts exhibition. And it's going to go on till the 27th of April this year.
Well, you were talking about important figures to be in this festival. So tell us more about it. And I like the idea that you have a celebrity when it comes to the kitchen, of course. And this is, again, something that is really very, very interesting. And the Egyptian people, they started to know and learn more about Indian food.
That's true. The 4 big groups that we're having are 2 main dancers from India. That's Aditi Mangaldas. She's a well-known Kathak dancer. That's one of the classical Indian dance forms. There's another dancer coming, her name is Vanashi Rao. And then we have a violin player, his name is Dr. L. Subramaniam. And then we have a puppet theatre group led by Dadi Padamji. So these are actually very well-known names in India. They've set their mark in Indian culture, and they'll be coming, of course, with their respective groups. And then we have the Indian celebrity chef, Vikram Udaygiri. In fact, he came last year as well, and he'll be here to display his fine dining for the Egyptian audience.
Now, when planning the itinerary, tell me more, how did you choose the various troops and the various themes?
The troops are mainly sourced through cooperation with the Teamwork production from India. They have many contacts in the Indian culture field. And so they help us in sourcing the different artists. But of course, we also take into consideration what the Egyptian audience would like to see. So we have a Bollywood dance workshop, for instance, by a well-known choreographer. He's been associated with this festival since the beginning, Jil Chuyen. And then, of course, we also have assistance from the Indian Council for Cultural Relations, which helps us in sourcing certain troops from India.
You were talking about dancing, and from here, I know that in India we have different kinds of dancing, and each one it reflects something in particular. And sometimes there are certain kinds that are used in healing as well. So tell us more about the dancers or kind of dancing that would participate this year.
Well, Indian dance has both classical and folk dances.
Which
And
is the favorite for Egyptians?
for the Egyptians, I believe, well, I should not speak on behalf of everyone, but I believe the most popular one is the Bollywood dance, which is the popular sort of dance that you see in the Indian cinema. So for that we have the choreographer who will be conducting workshops in different venues in Cairo and Alexandria. And apart from this, as I mentioned earlier, we have two big exponents of Indian classical dance. So one is the Kathak and the other is Kuchipudi. So
Which is? Tell us more about, yes.
These are Indian classical dance forms that have originated from many centuries ago, in fact, and they've been passed on. And since these are classical dances, they involve theory. So you would look at the rhythm and pattern, and people spend their lives learning these dance forms, which are a part of Indian culture. Definitely, there are 8 major classical dance forms. But apart from this, we also have folk dance forms, which are less theoretical and more popular. And so these dancers would be here. Each dance has a specific pose and rhythm and eye movement, and they always tell stories that are passed on through the generations. Many of these classical dances are based from Indian mythology, so they would tell stories of gods and goddesses of Indian religions, but of course they are today a prime aspect of Indian culture, which we hope that the Egyptian audience would enjoy.
I'm curious, would the average Indian person, individual, also know how to dance? And of course, not like Bollywood, but would they at least have their own local dance that is popular among the public?
I believe most Indians are quite comfortable dancing. You would find that people are dancing on the streets during a wedding or any festival. And most of the different cultures in India have their own popular folk dances. But not everyone would know how to do the classical dance, of course.
But talking about the cultural relation between Egypt and India, we all know that we have something in common when it comes to our history, for example. So tell us how far Egypt is popular. What do Indian people they have in mind about Egypt? Because nowadays in Egypt, for example, we can see a lot of people who are interested in India and talking about India, places in India, talking about the Bollywood, as you mentioned right now.
Actually, I'm quite surprised that a lot of Egyptians are very familiar with
many,
Indian.
not only a lot,
Many
the majority.
Yes. In fact, I've met people who can speak some Indian language just because they've been watching some films on TV or so. And because of this, at our cultural center, we've noticed that many people are joining our language classes to learn, for example, Hindi and
Is it easy
Urdu.
to learn just this language? I mean, joining the class, how long will it take me just to speak, to start as a beginner?
I think learning a language really depends on the person as well. So I can tell because I've been trying to study Arabic, and of course you need to...
Was it easy?
I would say it's challenging. It's not as simple as one would expect, and it requires someone to be interested in the language, to have exposure to what you're listening to. And so these students who come to our center, for instance, they enjoy not just attending the classes, but also joining our other activities such as a film club where we screen different Indian films for them. So they enjoy meeting with Indians there as well. And that's how they learn languages. But beyond this, of course, people know about the films and TV shows that run on the different
By the way,
channels.
talking about TV, what about the children? I mean, do you have something, cartoons or something like this? We didn't see still from India. It's not that famous or popular here.
I'm not very familiar with this, but we try to reach out to Egyptian children anyway through other means to try and spread culture. For instance, every year we conduct this painting competition for school children called the Glimpses of India, and in which last year, for instance, we had over 1,000 people participating. And apart from this, also we do yoga for young children, for which they would enjoy, because it's not just a physical experience, but you meditate, and it's well-being, overall well-being of the person.
Yes. Now, the Maulana Azad Cultural Center, actually, in addition to all the activities you've mentioned, actually has a very rich itinerary. So would you shed more light on the activities that you haven't mentioned yet?
Sure. The Maulana Azad Center for Indian Culture was established in 1992, and our regular activities include classes for language, as I mentioned earlier, Hindi and Urdu, but also for yoga and occasionally for different dances. And apart from this, we regularly hold outreach activities where which we call India Day at different governorates. For instance, last month we went to Aswan. And every year we also source different troops from India, about 6 on average, who come here to perform at different venues, not just in Cairo, but also in, say, for instance, Alexandria and Port Said. And apart from this, we also provide 27 scholarships for Egyptians in the field, different sectors of education, higher education, and they go to India to study there for a year or even more. And of course, we do enjoy interacting with the Egyptian public. We go to different schools and different universities to talk about the Indian culture.
You have a fixed schedule on annual basis, right? So if I ask you, for example, about the next cultural event that will take place, what is it going to be about?
Well, the India by the Nile activity will finish at the end of April, and then right after that, we're going to think of doing a festival in commemoration of Rabindranath Tagore, who was one of the most famous Indian poets and overall artists. He was a contemporary of Ahmed Shauki, the poet, Egyptian poet. So this would be a week-long festival where we include different dances, music, and also poetry sessions.
When will it take place?
This would be from the 7th to about the 12th of May, beginning of May. And after that, we also, as I mentioned earlier, we have the Glimpses of India, which is the painting competition for young Egyptian school children. And beyond this, we would be conducting some of our activities for Indian major festivals like the Festival of Lights and Dashera.
Last year, the Tagore festivity actually was quite interesting, and each year you choose a theme, and usually whether Tagore or even when we are talking about major Indian figures, we find that there is collaboration with the Egyptian Cartoon Society. So would that take place also this year?
This year we're thinking of some new ideas that we will reveal as the date gets closer. But of course we're trying to include components, as we did last year, of a dance drama and some music, because Rabindranath Tagore, he wrote a lot of songs. In fact, he wrote the national anthem for both India and Bangladesh. And of course we'll try to add a component of film. And this is something that we would reveal to everyone once the dates get nearer.
How long have you been in Egypt?
I've been here since September 2014, so over 2 years now.
So how do you see the country, and how do you feel now about staying in Egypt?
I think for me, personally, I didn't feel that I'm coming to a very foreign land, because there's so many similarities with India. And in terms of the warmth that the people have, so people are very friendly here, they want to get to know you, and they're always happy to help you out. And what I also enjoy is that people are always on the streets, so it's never an empty street. And I do enjoy going out with friends. And so I've been mainly studying Arabic, but unfortunately I'm learning Fusha, which is not used much on the streets, so that's something I need to improve on.
Now, I understand also that the Maulana Azad Cultural Center not only is doing cultural activities in Egypt, but sometimes you send artists and scholarships and scholars to India as well. So would you talk to us about that aspect, please?
Yes, every year we do have these 27 scholarship slots that are assigned for Egyptian students at all 3 levels: undergraduate, graduate, and postgraduate levels. So we have many Egyptians who come to our center to apply for these programs. Their applications are sent to India, and then once it's vetted and approved, then the students go to India to study everything except medicine. So that's one of the main things that we try to reach out through education, that the young Egyptians would benefit from.
Talking also about the Indian culture and talking about the awareness here in Egypt. So if I ask about what really Indian people are interested in Egypt, and what are the Egyptians interested in? I know you don't want to speak on the behalf of someone, but at least you are in the field, and you can tell us what can attract Egyptians, for example, and what about your people? What are they interested in?
Well, right now, looking at the overall Indian experience here in Egypt, we have mostly businessmen that are based here in Egypt. So over 50 different Indian companies are investors here in Egypt. So the interest, of course, is to expand their businesses and growth.
They are happy and satisfied with the Egyptian market.
I think everyone has gone through a little bit of trying times in the couple of past few months, but of course they're here to stay. Nobody's leaving the country, and they would definitely. I know that a few of them are trying to expand their businesses. So that's one aspect, the economic and commercial aspect. And in terms of trade as well, people from India are interested in buying in Egyptian products and selling their products here in the market here. And in terms of tourism, we have a large number of Indians coming to Egypt every month, I could say.
To go where?
They primarily come to Cairo to see the pyramids, of course, and visit the different museums. And many of them make trips to Aswan and Luxor, and then to Abu Simbel as well. And there are lots of Indians coming to Sharm el-Sheikh to enjoy the Red Sea resorts there. And I believe many people are also going to Alexandria to enjoy the beauty of that city there.
So talking about tourism and referring to it, have you done any of these sightseeings yourself?
Oh, of course. I have gone to different places in Egypt, like I said, to Alexandria and
Yes.
Hurghada, to the south in Aswan, Luxor, and all the way to see the Abu Simbel. And my most enjoyable experience, of course, was climbing Mount Sinai in
So tell us
Catherine
more
area.
about it. You were in St. Catherine, or?
I was in St. Catherine.
Okay.
I'd gone there with a Bedouin, actually, to climb the mountain early in the morning and to see the sunrise, and it was really beautiful. It was an experience that I would love to do again, and I really enjoyed it.
Yes. Now, what about your advice when people are coming to Egypt? Or you know, as the cultural center, the director of it. So do you give certain recommendations, or when people are traveling to India, do you give certain recommendations? How do you see traveling?
Well, when Indians are coming here, of course, we tell them about the different places that they can visit, but at the same time, we do advise that people take their own precautions, and that's something that is standard for any visit to any country. But the Egyptians going to India, of course, we try to tell them about the different places in India. There's so much variety in India, where you have the north where the Himalayas are, so anyone could go and see the mountains, or to a national park where you can see animals in the wild, or to some of the beaches in India. And what India is also known for is the monuments, so people go there to see the different temple architecture, and even Islamic culture is there in India. So we do advise them about the different places that they can see, that they can visit and experience.
You have mentioned something that has to do with children and how you approach young people, but in particular children in schools, for example. Tell us more about these activities by the center.
Well, we have regular schools visiting us once a week, say, and they come to our culture center to have a look at what we do and also learn more about India. So we show them different documentaries, short documentaries, and have them do a little bit of a yoga session. And then they're told about India, and they have a question and answer session with me usually. And then we give them an experience of a little bit of Indian food. Apart from this, of course, we do have either the ambassador or me. I would go to a university or a school to give a talk about about India, and not just culture, but education and politics and economics. So this is something that we try to do. It's an endeavor of the embassy.
Yes. I understand also that actually the women community, the female community, is very active in Cairo.
Oh, that's right. There is a large participation from the Indian women that they take part of mostly in Mahdi, where they have a center for expats. So there are a lot of Indian women that go there. They have their exhibition of different Indian crafts, and also they have different fairs where they make Indian food, so people go there to eat it. And beyond this, we also have participation with the Asian Diplomats Spouse Association, which is held every year. It's a charity bazaar where the Indian booth is there, and different people get an exposure of what India is like. So in terms of clothing and food and music and dance.
Well, I'd like to thank you very much, Director of the Maulana Azad Cultural Center, Ms. Anne Haukib, as well as the Second Secretary at the Embassy for this interview. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me here.
And now we will be going to a quick break, but we will be back with more on Breakfast Show, so stay with us.